Might we see him with the first team anytime soon?
We're talking to Andy. He's done well with S2, and we always believe, if there's a chance to reward guys who do well, we'll try and do that. But right now we're just in thought process.
Regardless of what you end up deciding in terms of your lineup, do you have more guys available to you now? I guess particularly meaning Barrett, maybe.
Yeah, I think we have more guys available to us. I think Barrett's available. I think Ozzy's available. We got to decide on the role. We'll decide on Evans tomorrow in terms of his situation, and we'll also make a decision on Andy Rose, because even though Andy Rose was with us in Philly, he really couldn't play.
With the, go ahead.
Leo
will make a decision tomorrow as well.
Just going to ask now with the hammer apparently fully fallen on Clint, if you felt everything was done sort of fairly in the club's position on particularly what the Open Cup did the other day.
They made their decision, and we'll live with it.
Adrian mentioned that there could be some internal punishments, whether it's meted out to Dempsey or whoever else. Is anything else coming from you guys in terms of any kind of sanctions or anything like that?
No, I mean, all what I know is what I've read. I've heard nothing else.
I'm sorry, were you surprised at all that U.S. They made it the 2-year ban, especially considering he hasn't really been a part of the team in that tournament?
No, I mean, it's comparable to things they've done in the past with the Peter Novak and with Kotemek Blanco. It's really no different.
Clint also had a 2-week suspension last year, or 2-game suspension for the Toronto game. I mean, is this something you're concerned about going forward, that this is something that from a very prominent player that you have to be worried about as a team?
No. I don't think when you look at his long-term history, that isn't his evidence of his long-term history, and so we'll deal with it as we go forward. But it is what it is right now, and we can't take back those actions.
And of course, here are the Timbers again. Do you look for increased chippiness or just regular chippiness?
Probably regular chippiness. That's just the way the game is. Per se, I'm sure they're not happy over their last result as well. We're not happy over our last result, so you're going to have two teams that are going into this game. It's a little more balanced from a standpoint of maybe fatigue levels going into this game. The heat's going to, I think, play a factor in the game, because there's the heat, and obviously when you play on turf with that kind of heat, it gets even hotter. So when you're running around on a surface that's maybe it's somewhere between 100 and 110 degrees, that's not always the best for your feet.
It's been a little while now, but I think a couple of weeks ago, I think the league actually did its first hydration break and so forth. Do you think that's a wise thing for the league to do?
Yeah, I mean, if the circumstances warranted, I think it's certainly something that makes sense. I mean, we got to take care of our athletes. Our athletes are the assets of the league, and you got to make sure that you take care of their physiology in an appropriate manner. I mean, all the other, a lot of the other major sports, when you're hockey, basketball, football, I mean, there's plenty of breaks for players to hydrate and stay physiologically in good shape. With our sport, it's a lot tougher.
Certainly back in the old days, like with Bear Bryant, almost a water break was almost seen as a sign of weakness. I mean, does your coaching date back that far? And is that one of the big changes since you've been in the game?
Well, I'll tell you an interesting story. Okay, so an interesting story was in the '84 Olympics. The job I got in the '84 Olympics was I was the guy who was assigned the liaisons to all the soccer teams. So as a result of that, they gave me access to all the trainings for all the Olympic teams, and also gave me access to the Olympic villages. So it was really great, because I got to watch Brazil train, Germany train, Italy train, France train, Yugoslavia. Saw some great coaches, Maldini, people like that, Toplak, Ribik, and so forth. So first team that came into town was the Egyptian team, and the Egyptian team's coach was an Egyptian guy who was a professor of sport at the University of Cairo, but has done his coaching credentials in Germany, and so he spoke German as well. And so their practices were interesting, because as their practices went on, the trainer was there. There's days of, okay, there's no water breaks. Every player would get injured at least once, and when he got injured, he'd go over to the trainer, and the trainer next to his box, behind his box, had like water bottles. And so while that player was injured, he would take his drink of water, and then we'd go back on the field. And every player did this through every training. So after about the third training, we're on the bus, we're riding back to the village, and I said to the coach in German, I said, surely you must know that they're all taking water breaks during training. He goes, yes, I do, but the culture and the culture of the sport says we're not supposed to take water breaks, so I have to stay with the culture, but I know it's good for them to have the water break, so I allow it to happen. So those are the old days. So I'm sure somewhere in Bear Bryant's thing there was the trainer helping out the guys and getting them water at the right times when they needed it, but we didn't hear about it. So that's my story for the day.
How much more difficult does this game become coming off a short week where you guys have already played a Wednesday game?
I mean, right now for us, just the difficulty has been our inability to rotate because of the amount of injuries we've had, and as I said, after the Philly game, our inability to train. So we've talked about what can we work on to be better offensively. Well, there's not a lot we can do in terms of having a training session where we play offense against defense today. A lot of guys had to regen, some guys train. Tomorrow's the day before the game. So we have to focus on different things. So, we'll be happy when this short week's over. The good part is that they're also playing 3 games now in 8 days. And going back to the Cup game, it's pretty comparable now, our schedule and theirs. So hopefully fatigue levels will be close.
Do you think your guys are even more motivated to get on the field against them after Tuesday night's match?
I think our guys are always motivated to play against Portland.
With training an hour later, was that just to give your guys an hour to sleep in, or were you trying to maybe simulate a little bit of the heat for this weekend?
No, just allowing us to sleep in. By the time our flight got back, it was 4:30 on Thursday, so just making sure the guys got good rest and sleep.
Wednesday night marked the midway point of the season for you guys. How would you assess your team so far?
I think we're in good shape. I think when we had had weapons at our disposal, I think we produced some good results. It becomes harder at times, when you don't. I mean, a good example today at training is Darwin Jones is playing next to Clint, and Darwin bangs in like 4 goals in training because Clint's talking him through the process. So when you have a veteran player and a younger player, it makes it a lot easier because you can get talk through the process. And, when you put 2 younger guys or less experienced guys out there together, then it becomes a little more difficult. So I think over the last run of games, we've had some difficulties because of that, and obviously the injuries have hurt us. But overall, I'm pretty pleased where we're at, and I always think we can do better.
With Ridgewell getting a red card and being out for this game, does that factor into anything, or who would be replacing him?
No, they'll probably go with Paparazzo in the back, and same guy who played against us in the Open Cup when Ridgewell was sick as well. So,